All right. All right. All right. I think we are live. All right. I think we are live. Claude Code, go ahead, say hi. All right, welcome anyone who clicked this video. What I want to do is kind of a live tech demo. Okay, so what you're not seeing right now is on screen for me is my OBS kind of portal, and then I have Claude Code. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do a fun little experiment. I don't know what's going to happen, but what I'm trying to kind of do for me is kind of put my mind in kind of like the state where I'm like Neo in the Matrix, and I'm trying to kind of test new functionalities that I'm not used to being there. We're going to go ahead and switch over to share screen, and then we'll see what happens. So one thing I'm doing. All right, guys, that was a epic failure on my part. I had Claude Code switch gears and it completely shut it down. Okay, so on screen you see Claude Code over here, and you see OBS. What I wanted to do before I was cut off, I was in the middle of talking and I had a pretty good idea, was I'm going to act as if I am Neo in the Matrix. Okay, I have no superpowers. Okay, so we need to kind of free our mind. So normally, I'm 38 years old. I grew up in an era where early stage technology was essentially, you started from like DOS, which was command line interfacing, and then Windows came out, and Windows, which is called essentially user interface or graphical user interface, became the standard norm for interfacing with computers and technology. Okay, so you have the software side that developers handle, okay, and then they give you a nice little application, which was always graphical centric, buttons, settings, all these things to make users be able to interface with it, right? So the software capability was always there. What we're doing is, I believe we're in a new kind of paradigm. All right, I'm back. Don't go nowhere. I had to call my wife. Okay, so the idea behind all of this is that we're going to test to see the limits. So if you've been following the AI trends, you probably heard this thing called vibe coding. And I am completely not a fan of the term. Vibe coding implies that you're a developer and you're just hanging out and you're talking to the agentic processes and it's producing the code that you want. It doesn't make it act, it still doesn't, it extrapolates a layer and it prevents normal, regular person interfacing. Okay. The way I like to think of this is I'm Master Chief from Halo or Tony Stark, where they're both talking and verbalizing to a AI. And the AI has the full technical capacity to handle technology. Okay. Neo in the Matrix is the same kind of profile, right? Neo, when he's in the Matrix and he's plugged in, has the ability to power project and manipulate internally, and so he presents and visually looks like he has superpowers. The people that have been unplugged have the ability to load into their mind superpowers, right? Neo goes through this process of educating himself on how to fight, right? And it happens very fast because they're literally loading in the technical know-how. Okay, this is very, very doable today, and I don't think people realize it. So what we're going to do is showcase some superpowers. So normally, if I was a streamer or someone, and let's say I was brand new to streaming, right? All this stuff and all this software you see, I would have to figure out how to manage plugins, set up chats, handle all the settings manually by moving around and clicking these buttons. All right. So what I've been doing for the last 2 minutes is I've been holding my Wispr Flow hotkey and I've been recording what I've been saying. And so this little bit is going to go over here to Claude Code. It's going to process what I just said. And what we're going to do is we're going to run a little thought experiment. Okay. I don't know the necessary output, but follow along with me and we're going to play around. Okay. My goal here is to make a cooler OBS stream. I want this up above. I want this chat stream to be probably a WebSocket somewhere on screen. I want to clean up this window right here. I'm in a block. I don't think it's kind of cool. I think it would be better to either have a invisible background applied or just kind of a circle. And it would be kind of cool if there was an automation that said, hey, this circle is covering up something that he's talking about on screen. And so it automatically moved me. We're going to test that, see if that's doable. I don't even know what my audio quality looks like. Right now, I've been talking and my Mac capture's going. Here's my audio for this microphone right here in front of me. It's probably garbage. I don't know. I don't know what the sound quality. Maybe you hear my dogs barking or the lawnmowers or something. I would like it to be kind of a little bit more cooler, crisper sounding. Maybe clean out my nasally sound. My phone, I just got hired on as a sub. So I got just hired on as a sub and my phone's just blowing up. So, first injection. Let's see what happens. So Claude Code's going to be processing what I've just been talking about for a couple minutes. Right now it's quantumizing. One thing I did prior to starting this is I actually did a pre-setup on Claude Code before doing this. So there's a little thing called a WebSocket. So tools, WebSocket. And it walked me through this. And it's not going to do it. All right. So it's the WebSocket utility allows the terminal to configure with the live stream and this software specifically. So it just wrote a script. Let's see what it's going to do. I give it permission to run it. It's going to go screen share, scenes. It's thinking through a bunch of stuff. Let's see what happens. What I'm about to do live: audio cleanup, add noise suppression, noise gate, and compression filters to the Samsung mic. It's gonna go through that. It's going to webcam shape. There's explore the circular crop, and then layout improvements. It's gonna start. It's starting with the audio. So I'm just going to kind of talk through. I wish I could blow this up more. But we're just here. Look, I'm not coding nothing. My hands are here. So right now it's cleaning. I think it's attempting to clean up audio. Derek, say something and see if you can hear the difference. The stream should sound cleaner now. For the nasally tone, OBS doesn't have a built-in barometric EQ, but if you have the Reaper plugin installed free, I can load Re-EQ as a VST filter and cut the blah 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 hertz range that causes nasal sound. Want me to check if those are installed? Next up, webcam circular. One thing I can't do is I don't have a audio output. So I have no way of monitoring audio stream quality. Let me see. I could probably do it on my phone. Just bear with me. On this stream, Claude Code, what time did we start doing audio stuff? So I can just kind of fast forward. All right, we're on. Hotkey. Right? This stuff and all this software you see. I would have how to Claude Code. Talking. Code's going to be all right, right now we're just monitoring to see if the audio's changed. Bear with me. This is the only way I know how to sign. I don't have my starting this is I actually did a pre-setup Claude Code. So there's a little thing called a socket. So tool socket. And it walked me through this, and it's not going to do it. All right, so it's WebSocket utility allows the terminal to stream and this software. Just wrote a script. It's going to go share, scene, think stuff. See. It's right here. It's starting with the audio. It's going to kind of talk through what it's here. Look, I'm not coding nothing. Hands are here. Right now I think it's attempting to Derek, say something and see if you can hear the difference, the stream. There's explore the circular Samsung link. It's going to webcam shape. There's explore the circular. Yeah, it's starting with the audio. All right, I just kind of reviewed it. I think it did really kind of clean it up. I wasn't talking long enough to really notice anything drastic. I think it was a very soft and subtle change. So Claude, I think you did really good. I listened to the stream. I wasn't really talking enough to kind of really consistently hear. So I think you did a good job pre-configuring it. There's not a whole lot of outside noise around, and I think you probably lowered the upper threshold. So like prior to that little script that you ran, I think it lowered kind of the sound intensity a little bit, but it's very, very soft and hardly noticeable through my phone. So good work on that. Okay, let's play around with this, my webcam. So you look at so you're gonna have to go through, I think you gotta inventory what video sources we're utilizing and see how it's layered and overlaid on OBS. I know you could probably look it up. OBS incorporates web layers. Like they essentially take all these sources and then I think they programmatically kind of fuse everything together is the kind of process. That's why for the viewer, I'm able to switch between these scenes, talking head, and it's created a camera layer over. Think of it like podcast mode. I used to have images on these things. Share screen. So share screen, think of it like stack of paper. So my camera, right? If I were to change anything over here, it would be like, here's my camera overlay, move it to the back, and I would not see it no more. Right? Because right behind here, I have my share screen. So share screen's that secondary, and on the small little element right here, you can see how small it is over the big one, stacks of paper. That's how that's rendered visually. Okay, I just explained kind of the process of how the overlays on OBS work visually in the graphical user interface. Let's go ahead and play around, tap into anything you need to. We're going to watch. Just make sure that double checked and monitor. I don't want to lose video at all during this stream, and I ideally do not want to lose audio. So make sure those continue to function. We're live streaming right now, so I would assume while we're doing this function test that we don't want to epically fail and lose the host during this live stream. So that. Hey guys, I'm back. If you were just watching a stream of me a couple seconds ago, right? Literally talking about how Claude Code should not break anything, so the viewer goes away, it completely shut down the software that was running the show and shut down the screen. So that's fun. But going back to what it's working on. All right, so I told it all this stuff. We were going to work on the web camera stuff. And let's see what it said. It said, good feedback on the audio. Let me carefully explore the webcam situation. I'll check everything first before touching anything visible. And then WebSocket connection dropped. OBS may have restarted or the WebSocket server toggled. This is exactly the kind of thing we don't want to break midstream. Derek, you can check OBS real quick. 2 things. And that's not Claude Code. That's the Mac OS Sequoia window tilting, fighting with Wispr Flow's hotkey release. When you let go of the Wispr hotkey, Mac OS interrupts the gesture as a window management action and auto tilts, maximizing whatever's in focus. It's a known issue with the new stage manager and tilting behavior in Mac OS 26. Quick fix right now. System settings, turn off, tilt. Well, but that's for later. Right now, it's OBS back up and streaming. Let's check. OBS is back up and streaming. Okay, so now let's work on the webcam. I think I'm going to start typing just to kind of prevent Wispr Flow from injecting the wrong key. All right. All right, interesting. You already have an image mask and blend filter on the webcam. That's likely a circular mask from a previous setup. Let me check what it's doing in the current crop settings. It said you already have the circular mask from a previous project, canvas, transparent circle, original.png on Seagate. It's active, but the webcam is heavily cropped on the sides, blah, 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 blah. This is squishing it. Let me clean this up, make the circular work. Make the circle work properly with a centered square crop so your face fits circle. Nice, thanks for the input. Writing some code. It's using Python again. It likes Python. Probably because I already had the library installed on my computer. For those new to software, Python's not the only thing you can run if you needed your agent to write code for you. Okay, but it is what you need is the way it's kind of configured is the agent can write anything and everything, but you need to have the compilers installed on your computer to actually make the customality work for you. So I have already, through my year or two of coding, already installed Python compiler onto my computer when I was learning to code. So the first instinct for when the agent looks through and is starting to write software onto your computer to make it useful for you is to look to see if there's already a ready available compiler for it to interface with, because you want the code to work on your computer. So it's going to tap into those resources automatically. It's going to scan through. You see all those bash commands, right? It's going to do a search thing, and then it's going to write what's readily available. It's not going to just pick an arbitrary language and say, hey, here you go. It'll write some kind of form of software for you in the packet that it thinks is most relevant for what you want. And then before it runs, if it doesn't have those compiling elements, it'll kind of prompt you how to get that stored local for the newbies. Okay. All right, transformation applied. Let me fix the filter, enable call. Right now it's bashing, doing a circle mask, confirmed, embedded. Let's see, right now I don't see my circle that I'm looking for. I'm still square. Done, check your screen. Here's what just happened live. I'm looking at my screen now. I'm still square. So if you need to confirm, do yourself like a screenshot and look at it visually to see what happened, to see if there's anything you do, because we're doing graphical stuff. I think you're going to have to do some screenshots, save it, and do some back-end processing to kind of figure out and do some confirmation testing. Right? You did good on the software side, I think, but because you're doing visual elements and we're doing this live, you're going to have to do visual confirmation. So what it's trying to do is now write some script to establish a screenshot. So reading through right now, I can see the problem. You're still a rectangle in the bottom right corner. The circle mask file is loaded, but it's not rendering correctly. The crop made it square, but the mask image for Seagate may not be mounted properly, or the mask type needs to set the alpha mask. To help you out, to give you a little bit of a pointer, Claude Code, you were right. I did have the mask overlay applied in a recent, but I think we've made some file directory changes in other software packages and other like business, like just kind of doing a organization. So I think what happened is the image directory path may have changed, because I noticed I've lost in podcast mode. I had a image overlay of just like a GBT image rendering as like kind of like a little simple overlay to kind of create some kind of element. That's gone away, I've noticed. So you should be able to confirm that. So podcast mode, I have like just an image, so it's like kind of presents as like a split screen. That image is gone. So that tells me that I think we changed the file directory. The files were stored. also like a warning sign pops up of telling me like image overlays. The directory path has changed. That error came up before we started stream. I didn't mention it to you. I figured you'd be able to kind of process and figure it out. All right. Transmuting. What it's thinking through right now, it doesn't have anything for me. I need to flip my little side note, keep working on what you're doing, but when we're done, before we finish with the, what are we calling it? My camera, the camera that's watching me, okay, the webcam. I don't know why I'm stuck on dumb today. The webcam, I notice that the way it's default rendered is it's kind of flip-flopped. So on screen, I'm noticing that for me, my orientation, when I look to my screen, my orientation, screen right, it's flipped. So it's going screen left. And when I look screen left on display, I'm looking over on screen left. I'm reading the chat on the terminal over here. And what's happening is my little profile guy is pointing the wrong direction. So like I have to, so on screen, for instance, in order to point at something visibly on the screen for me, if I'm using my frame of reference, I have to point the opposite direction of where I would. So if that makes sense, it would be easier if I could just point to my screen and it would actually reflect where I'm pointing on screen. So I think we need to do a image flip if that's possible. All right, it's saying that I can see you're still rectangular and Wispr flow popped up over everything. The mask filter is applying, but everything about the rendering. But everything about the rendering isn't clipping. Let me check if it needs the color type instead of alpha, and I'll also handle the mirror flip you mentioned. I'm gone. I am gone. It's okay, world. I am not on screen right now. This is intentional. This was for the purpose of setting up a live tech demo. I didn't want this to happen. I talked through this, but I expected something like this to happen. So Claude Code, just so you know, in your monitoring, I am off screen, but you keep working on the software. We'll patch it up in a little bit. Oh, I'm back. I'm back. Never mind, I'm back. Keep working. I'm trying not to interfere with you. I'm just trying to be entertaining. Testing to see if it did the mirror. It didn't. All right, webcam disappeared. The mirror flip combined with the mask knocked it out of the frame, and you can't see you. Fix that. Restore visibility first, then do the flip properly. You're a good sport. Keep entertaining. I'll keep building. So it's working through. So sometimes this stuff takes a minute, right? It's not so easy to get software to properly function, but I've been here the entire time, right? I didn't have to figure this out myself, play around in menus. So having something that is built out of software, handling stuff that runs software is for me the most ideal thing. It might take a little bit longer to figure it out. Yes and no. Like, I don't mind. But the purpose of it is to kind of experiment here. So we're just running experiments. So still rectangular. I can see you clearly in the bottom right, but no circular cropping. The mask filter is loaded, but not masking. The issue is likely that the webcam's crop and bond setting are conflicting with how, blah, 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 blah. It's already changing it. With how the mask renders. Let me try a completely different approach. Remove the crop and bonds entirely. Let the mask do all the shaping. Oh, go for it. Oh, I've changed to a rectangle now. I am now a different shape. Still rectangular. I can see you clearly, but the mask is not clipping. The mask filter v2 with the mask alpha filter.png type is not working on Mac OS with this OBS version. This might be a known Mac OS rendering issue with OBS 31. Derek, here's my honest assessment. The mask filter on Mac OS is not cooperating through the API. The fastest way to get your circular right now is one or two options. Option A, 10 seconds manual. Click, right click the webcam source in OBS, filters, add, set type in alpha mask, something the GUI applies it differently than the API. Option B, I build it. I create a browser source with your webcam typed through CSS border radius that forces a circular clip regardless of the OBS filter rendering. Which you do, what would you like to do? As silly as it is, this showcase is about AI capabilities. Okay, so I'm inclined to pick option B. It does seem more complicated. Yes, I will agree. It does seem more complicated. But the idea is for showcasing human superpowers utilizing AI. I like that you gave me feedback of saying, hey, this is honestly probably the easiest option is for you to just manually click, 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 click. Yes, that is doable, and that is how I've set up that overlay in the past. But just for shits and giggles, I do not want to do that. To showcase, Matrix superpowers. That's kind of my thinking. So we're going to go down option B rabbit hole. Go ahead and do that. Okay, so it removed me because I told it to go down option B. I'm still here. I can see my audio still working. I'm going to keep talking through what's going on. So it removed the broken mask filters, and it's removed me as a source. It's hidden me. If you look here, the software has hidden my overlay. Now, as I confirm, I'm over here watching it unfold. So it's writing some commands. Let's review some of this. It's did an OBS rec client. It's set some variables. Looking for some HTML. Doing a print. Position bottom right. It did a position where it's going to throw me. And then it's done some other things. Right here is, it looks like it's writing this overlay into a specific scene. So screen source, screenshot, and screen share. Oh, cool. Camera access denied, permissions needed. So looking over here, looks like it needs camera permissions. Let's see what it does. If you can see my hands, I'm not typing anything. You can't. Okay, I'm not typing nothing. I'm just letting it do its work. Okay, I can see the browser source loaded. I'm over here. But it's showing red error box. The OBS browser source doesn't have camera permissions. OBS built-in Chrome browser can't access. That's going to try to fix that. I'm back. I'm back. All right. So it's doing something weird. I want to see. I'm just over here watching everything, just going with the flow, seeing what happens. So it wrote some software. We got my camera up and running, so it fixed the permissions issue. I have this new overlay called it circle frame. So I have this new overlay. It turned on built-in web camera, so we see that I'm plugged in, but it's rendering weird. I'm essentially zoomed in here. I see this blue clipping, and then I see my applications. So it's not cropping me in here properly, and then I have black. So let's see what happens. This should be invisible, and then this circle should be just me. Don't do that. So let's see what it does first before anything happens. All right, it says there it is. You're in the circle now. I can see the circle frame overlay sitting on top of you. The square crop webcam in the bottom right. The darker corners are masked by the overlay, and there's a subtle blue border ring around it. Two things I noticed that need tweaking. It noticed the same patterns I did. Good thing I told it to visually screenshot. That was one major improvement, is tell it, hey, look at what you're doing, right? We're doing stuff graphically, right? Don't just focus on the software. Double check your work visually. Okay. So that's one thing I learned I was working with like a PDF form a couple days ago, and I had Claude Code inject text into the thing, but it essentially cropped everything in it. And so it educated me on the different processes of PDFs, and it pretty much told me, like, just like how this has overlays, PDFs have the same overlays. So you have the main text document, and then when you type into it, it's essentially an invisible overlay, and then they sandwich it together in the digital ecosystem. So this text field was getting cropped by arbitrary invisible squares, and it had to digitally shrink the text so it wasn't wrapping. And I think it changed some of the internal parameters, so it just kind of wrapped inside. So same core fundamentally, but what I told it to do to fix it was the same thing. It's like, hey, whatever you're doing behind the scenes, cool, that works great, but check your work by doing things visual, right? This is I told it, like, this PDF is going to a human to read. So it's not going to me, I don't need it, but someone's going to print it out on a computer and put it in a file somewhere. So I need you to look at what is the PDF is presented, visually look at it, process it, so like a human would, and then do some troubleshooting. And so that's what we did here, same kind of element. So if you're writing code or anything and doing stuff on the visual side, hey, tell it, agent, part of your process, I need you to troubleshoot. Don't just troubleshoot the software, but troubleshoot the visual spectrum as well, because they're two different. The software on the agent side could work fine, but like what we're seeing on screen, this is not fine. This is not what I wanted. So it's working through it. Getting closer, but the webcam is still wider than the frame. So let's see. So it said getting closer, but the webcam is still wider than the frame. I can see the rectangular edges poking out behind the circle. The crop offset is throwing off. The crop offset is throwing off the position calculation. Let me fix the layer order so the frame sits on top and fully covers the corners. Remember, digital sandwiches, okay? Digital sandwich, that's what this is over here. All these sources, you have an audio source, you have a visual source. This is my Mac OS audio. So anything that the computer audio projects outward to me for me to hear is being recorded as a layer in the software. Okay, I have me talking to my microphone right here. Okay, so that's what this is, microphone layer. Then you have the Mac OS screen share. So what I see on my computer screen here is layered in. Okay, and then on top of that, I want to see myself, right? Because if I put my camera below, my screen share would take up the entire viewport for you guys as the viewers. So we put the human webcam layer over, and then we shrink it small so you can see both. So you can see a big screen share, and then a small human, and then now we're trying to put another layer on top of the small human to make it into a nice fancy screen. That's what it's working through. It said it worked right over here. Double check your work. I don't think you're there yet. It may be there digitally, but I don't want to manually control the positions of the overlays. So fix the square sizing, I think you need to fix the square sizing. If I click through the overlays, are they the exact same position, representation, and the same size? And then why does the circle render as black? Should it be transparent? So like the edges of the circle. So you have the internal part of the circle, that's showcases as transparent because I can see my face through the screen. So it's being represented as transparent. But ideally, shouldn't the edges of the square that's rendered be also transparent? So essentially the edge of the circle is the part that clips my screen layer off but shows the screen share layers. Like it's kind of functioning like the filters. It's determining. All right, it said you're right. The black corners are the problem. The frame is hiding the webcam corners, but it's also blocking the screen share behind it. The whole point is that the outside of the circle should see your screen, not the black square. Let me fix this properly. I need the webcam itself to render as a circle, not as a square hidden behind. All right, remove the circle frame overlay, applied an RGB color mask filter, webcam square crop position, right corner, still rectangular. The mask filter version 2 with mask color filter PG is not clipping on Mac OS 31. This is a rendering pipeline issue. Back to the circular reasoning. It says, Derek, I'm going to be straight with you and the audience. The OBS mask filter via the WebSocket API is not rendering on Mac OS. I've tried Alpha Mask, Color Mask, version 1, version 2. The filter gets created but doesn't visually clip. This appears to be a Mac OS specific OBS rendering behavior. Here's what will work. And it's still fully programmatic. No mouse clicks. I was about to say, explore other options, right? Those are great. Don't give up. Don't give up, right? Normally at this point, audience, I would have done the click, click, click myself. But again, that's not the point that I want to kind of get through to you guys. That sometimes software can be tricky. Sometimes working with these agents can be tricky, but I think if you really, really delegate to it and be aggressive about what you want, it can find ways around it. And just be hard on it. Force it not to go into circular reasoning, okay? Force it to continue to find other avenues of approach. Think of it like a map, okay? I'm gonna try to use my hands. Over here, I have my me. Let's say this is me, and I'm trying to drive a city. Okay, I want to be over here, right? Destination B. I'm at destination A. Okay. Now, in a city, there's a grid, typically north, south, east, west, right? Or circular roads throughout. Okay. But what I'm trying to articulate is there's typically multiple routes to the same destination. Okay. And so what agent showcased to me is that it tried route 1, didn't work. It tried route 2, didn't work. Tried route 3, didn't work. Tried route 4, didn't work. Okay. But we're trying to explore as many digital routes as possible. That's what the goal is. Now, when I'm building software, typically what I like to do, make sure the agents are doing at the same time, is creating like a log report. So when you come back, you can showcase if you need to continue on with the work. Say, hey, we're going to continue on with the work. Read this log document, and it'll tell you the entire chain of events. Okay. Why you want to log is to create some sense of memory recollection. Okay. You want to create some kind of sequence of events. Otherwise, you'll get the same runaround from an AI agent. It'll go right back to the easiest step, something that you already tried. But if you can provide a log report saying, hey, we did A, B, C, D, E, we haven't executed on F, G, H, I, blah, 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 all the way to whatever millions of executionable options you want to pursue. Okay. So oftentimes when I'm building, I'm also making sure that we're updating and tracking a log report. So at any one point in time, if I break for a couple days and I come back to it, I have a full report to say, hey, where did we leave off at? And I can immediately say, oh, we're at this step. We've already executed on these options. We're going to continue on. Am I, though? Keep checking the screen. While you're working, where's the digital separation? You're telling me that it's working and it was visible for you. You can see and read software and all the data bits on the digital spectrum. Why is there a disconnect between from the software side to what's actually projected to my UI presentation? I trust your line of reasoning. Okay, I'm not pushing back on your line of reasoning. When you told me you see it, right? When you say you see it, I'm assuming you're talking from the frame of reference from the software implementation and the back end, like the terminal executions, you see all the digital processes all happening. Now remember that I don't have that interface capacity, so I can only see what is visible for me on screen. I can only see, hear, smell, and taste. I'm a human. Okay, so I'm just kind of curious where that separation is in the digital flow of the hardware, right? Why is the hardware not doing what you're saying is happening programmatically? It said, great question for the audience. Here's the honest answer. The filter exists in the software layer. OBS confirms it's there and enabled, but the render pipeline on OS isn't applying it visually. The disconnect is between data layer and render layer. So render layer would be here. Okay, this is the rendering. The rendering is the actual graphical part. You can't see me. I'm not on screen right now. If you could see me, I would be using my hands talking. This is the rendering, the color spectrum, what pops up on your phone display, what it pops up on a computer terminal. Any TV display is a digital process of creating light from software binary code. Okay. Data layer is the hidden layer that we don't see that computers process in. Okay, the electrical processes. So it's saying the data layer. OBS WebSocket says yes, mask filter v2 is active and enabled. Image loaded. Render layer. The Mac OS GPU compositor that actually draws pixels on screen is ignoring it. Okay, this is a platform-specific rendering bug in OBS 30 on Mac OS. The filter metadata is correct, but the visual output doesn't match. When I take a screenshot via the API, I'm capturing the composited output, which sometimes briefly shows the mask working. Then the render pipeline refreshes and drops it. This is exactly the kind of thing the Gemini research doc calls asymptotic boundary. The 80-20 problem where AI can do 80, but the last 20 fits a platform edge case that requires different thinking. New approach. I'm going to stop fighting the mask filter and use a method that's guaranteed on Mac OS. Okay, so it's coming up. It's pulled my input and output layers. These are the IDs from over here, and said true, true, true. So these are enabled. True is a indicator that is working or on. In this case, think of it like a switch, like an on-off switch in your room, right? If lights were on, it would be a true. If lights were off, it would be false. In digital binary circuitry, that's a 0 or a 1. So true and false are considered they're called booleans. Okay, so this is telling me my built-in webcam is visible false. So I am not on screen right now. You look at this little icon over here, it's telling me I am off right now. Okay, so I told it that long line of thinking. The circle cam scene didn't show up in screen share. The nesting didn't take because of the name conflict. Let me address your question directly, then fix this. Derek, you're asking the exact right question. Here's the gap. When I say I see it, I'm reading the API response. OBS tells me filter created, enabled, image loaded. That's the software state. But the render state that the GPU actually draws to your monitor is a separate pipeline. On Mac OS, OBS uses Apple Metal Graphics Framework for rendering. And the mask filters visual compositing isn't connecting between the API layer and the metal render layer. It is like if I told you a painter painted the whole the wall blue and then they wrote blue. In their got it. In their notes, but kept painting it in white. The notes say blue, the wall is white. My confirmation came from reading the notes, not looking at the wall. It's the disconnect. And it's why you telling me to take screenshots and visually verify is the right call. The screenshot captures what the GPU actually rendered, not what the API reported. Okay, so now it's going to think of through a process. It's going to look, looking for localhost, set a password, blah, 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 circle webcam. Now it's going to try and fix it. There it is. The mask is rendering in circle cam. The image is completely white, but because the mask is inverted, it's showing the black area. Fix is simple. Invert the mask colors. White circle should show the webcam. The black should hide it, but the circle mask filter is interpreting it the opposite way on OBS. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so it's working through the software side. Still blank. The color mask filter. The color mask filter on Mac OS is completely non-functional in the render pipeline, even within the nested scene. Let me try alpha mask type instead and use a proper RGBA image with alpha transparency. Still blank. The mask filter, both alpha and color variants, is completely non-functional on Mac OS OBS 31 through the API. The filter exists in the data layer, but the metal render pipeline ignores it entirely. Derek, I'm going to be fully transparent. Blah, 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 blah. With the audience, this is the wall. The OBS mask filter on Mac OS does not render when applied via WebSocket API. This appears to be either a Mac OS metal render limitation or an OBS bug specific to programmatic filter applications. The same filter works when blah, blah, blah. Let me go back to the overlay approach that did visually work, but this time make the corners match the scene instead of being black. Okay. Stream healthy at 47 minutes. Here's the honest summary for the audience. The OBS image mask filter does not visually render when applied programmatically via the WebSocket API on. Okay. What worked? Audio filters, scene switching, source position, screenshots, stream control, all fully programmatic. What didn't? Visual mask composition on Mac OS. We found a wall. Okay. I agree. We found a little bit of a wall. All right. Is there a way to digitally write our own, I don't know what to call it. I am on screen. My camera is presenting me as a square. on screen. I'm trying to understand the digital packets of information. Okay, this is a video source rendering as a square cut on the render. Okay. Is there a way that we can programmatically write our own source to come into this software piece as a circle using the same kind of workflow? Is that doable? Okay. Because the way this camera is utilized, it is applied through the user interface functions of creating a scene, selecting a source, selecting a webcam, and then the OBS software picks the arbitrary default shape. Is there a way we can set up a new source in OBS that utilizes the same tooling, the same kind of process workflow, but at the very last part, the rendering part, I'm a circle instead of a square. So we can add me as a new source using the same tools. So I would be a duplicate. If it works, we can delete me or hide me later, but I'm just thinking, can we flip the last second default parameters? Is that possible? Right? Or write me as a new source or a type of source or whatever configuration needs to be able to be presented as a circle. Is that doable? I'm just thinking out loud, creating stuff out of nothing, from stuff that I hardly know how it works. I'm gonna let it think. You guys watch for a little bit. I'm gonna use the restroom. All right, I'm back. What did it want to do? All right, yes, that's the Neo move right there. Instead of asking OBS to make you circle, which it's Mac OS. Okay. Render pipeline refuses to do. We write our own video source that captures your webcam, clips it to a circular in our own code, and feeds OBS an already circular video stream. OBS just receives a pre-processed feed and never needs to mask anything. The pipeline, camera, Python, OpenCV, circle mask, plus virtual camera, plus OBS picks it up as a new source. Let me see if the tools are available. Okay, so what it's doing is it's going to be working through probably some they're called libraries. So it's going to be looking through source libraries to render the code. Let me scroll. OpenCV is installed. Need virtual cam for virtual camera output. Need to activate OBS virtual camera first. Derek, in OBS, click Start Virtual Camera. Virtual camera is not installed. There's a screenshot of the error message that I get. Take a look at it, and related to the virtual camera. When I hit Start Virtual Camera, there's an error message. Yeah. All right. All right. I was about to do the privacy settings, but then you gave me something new. Okay. General, login, camera extensions. Okay, OBS virtual camera is enabled. Go ahead, continue. No, do not restart OBS. I've already lost the stream. Try to do what you want to do without restarting, please. All right, so right now it's trying to build me out a new camera source. Oh. Here's all the libraries. So if you were curious on what I meant by libraries for new software people, these imports. This import command, import CV2, import NumPy as NP, import virtual camera. These are libraries that are part of and added to the software suite that is Python. Okay, people open source these libraries, and they're like just a directory of specific commands that allow Python to have some utility for the computers. Okay, so when you write your script, it essentially says, hey, import this full directory. So anytime you see this specific command, it's paired to something, it knows what that is. Okay, so that's what that means. So without that import, essentially your software script is not going to be able to create an identifier to any particular command. You can say, hey, I need you to do this thing called jump. And what the computer's going to be like, yeah, I don't know what jump is. And then in the script, it was like, well, I need you to import this library called athletics or athleticism. And then when you say, okay, script, do jump, and it's like, okay, cool. I read that I know the entire library of athleticism. There's throwing, jumping, sprinting, skipping, tumbling, acrobatics, yoga, all these things. But it's like when it says it's just going to ignore all that stuff, it's just like, okay, execute jump, cool. And then it knows. Okay. So that's kind of like the mental framework of how that works for a metaphor for the software. So it's saying the camera is live. Apparently we've created a new camera feed. I'm kind of curious. We're bypassing all the other. So what we were doing was we were taking existing layers and trying to manipulate it in the settings. Now we're just saying, hey, take this camera and create a new feed. Right? This square of me is going to go bye-bye if this works out, and then I'll be a circle using the same hardware processing. Trying to fix the pixel buffers. All right, what's happening right now is that it's trying to fix the video stream. It's talking about pixel NVIDIA virtual camera. It's found an error. I think it's in the loop. So let me describe what a loop is. So on screen, right now I'm showing my hands. On screen, the computer flashes you a quick snapshot very, very quickly. It just says on, off. Okay. But what makes it always visible? Okay. Essentially, in the software, you state that in order to stay always on visibly, instead of flashing on and on, you're going to flash continuously, repeatedly, in a loop, over and over and over again. So then what happens is it's always on. Okay, so the software says, hey, I need you to run, boom, flash. But then at a certain point in your processing, you need to loop back to start. And that tells it to be always on. So it's called a loop. So I think it's fixing that. The circular webcam pipeline is working. Canvas with your face in a circle. Let me add it to the scene as a scene source. Where'd I go? Where'd I go? Where'd I go? Okay, I think it's refitting me. Oh, something's here. What's this? This. Thinking a lot. The circle camera isn't showing your face. It looks like the virtual camera feed isn't being captured by OBS. The source might be seeing its own output feedback loop since OBS virtual camera outputs what OBS renders, and you're trying to feed that back in. That's the problem. You can't use OBS virtual camera as both an output and an input in the same OBS instant. It creates a feedback loop. Derek, here's the real answer. Let me kill the virtual camera approach and do this the right way. Okay. Persistent little bugger. Persistent. We wait. We wait. We wait. We wait. All right. I'm Derek. I'm going to be real with the audience. Here's what we learned in the last hour. What worked programmatically: audio filters, noise suppression, gate, compressor, limiter, instant, perfect. Scene switching, source positioning, scaling, cropping, all work. Stream, start, stop, screenshots, monitoring, all work. What hit the wall: OBS mask filters don't render on Mac OS via API. Data layer says yes. GPU says no. The virtual camera creates a feedback loop when using an input in the same OBS instance. The circle webcam requires either manual GUI filter application or a separate virtual camera application, not OBS's own. The honest takeaway for the stream: this is the 80-20 boundary. 80% of OBS is fully controllable from the terminal. The circular webcam specifically hits a Mac OS rendering edge case. It's solvable with a third-party virtual camera app like Cam Twist or ManyCam, but not with the tools applicable in this session. Want to move on to a different demo or call it here and wrap up the stream? No, this was fun. I don't view this as bad. Go ahead and complete a full build log, what we were trying to do, and annotate this episode as part of it. I want a live stream episodic report of what we were attempting to do, right? And lessons learned. So I would like an after action brief, publish it to Google Docs, write it to a markdown file, and apply lessons learned to our system. Okay, this was not bad. This was the purpose of a live experiment. I wanted the viewers to see stuff like this, a little bit of learning and education about how these systems work in infrastructure. It's not that big a deal. I'll probably apply the filters manually to fix my circle issue later today. Not that big a issue. I just wanted to showcase AI's tooling, how it works, just to play around and see what happens. Other days we're probably going to go play around with video editing and video rendering or audio rendering. We'll see. But today's episode, I think that was good. We'll call it short and sweet. Go ahead. Do you have any closing statement to the audience? It said, thank you for hanging out with us today. Here's my closing statement for the stream. What you watched today was the real thing.